I figure I might as well go ahead and do a little review on this subject. I'm a little late to it, but the Alexandria, Virginia baseball practice, GOP baseball practice shooting that happened yesterday, that'd be Wednesday morning. Now, I'll go ahead and read you a bit of sort of a summary by USA Today. No, sorry, ABC, about what happened. Now, Representative Steve Scalise was in critical condition as of late Wednesday night after suffering severe injuries from a gunshot wound when a gunman opened fire on Republican congressmen practicing Wednesday morning for a congressional baseball game. The House Majority Whip and Louisiana Republican was rushed to a Washington trauma center Wednesday with fractured bones and internal organ damage, according to hospital officials. He is suffering from a rifle shot to the left hip with severe blood loss, according to MedStar Washington Hospital Center, which said Wednesday night that he required immediate surgery and multiple units of blood for a transfusion. Now, Scalise was shot at about 7 a.m. Wednesday at Eugene Simpson Stadium Park in Alexandria, Virginia, where a number of lawmakers were practicing for the annual charity congressional baseball game set to take place today. That game will go on as scheduled. At least 21 members of Congress were at the Wednesday morning baseball practice, including Scalise and 2 U.S. senators. The staffers and family members were also there. Representative Joe Barton of Texas said his 10-year-old son was there when the shooting broke out. Senator Rand Paul said he was in the batting cage when he heard an isolated gunshot. Then a burst of gunfire erupted, Paul told ABC News. At that point, people were dropping. Scalise was shot around second base, and he crawled a little bit into the outfield. Paul said Scalise's security detail exchanged fire with the active shooter. These guys were real heroes, and I think without them, everybody probably would have been killed, Paul said. Steve Scalise is in leadership, and that's the only reason there was a security detail there at all. I'm sad that he was shot, but he actually saved everybody's life by being there. Representative Brad Wenstrup, Republican from Ohio, a medical doctor and Iraq War veteran, told Fox News he administered aid to Scalise after the shooting stopped, putting pressure on the wound. I felt I was back in Iraq, but without my weapon, he said. Wenstrup and Scalise said Scalise was as brave as he could possibly be, so on and so forth. All right, now the victims in the shooting were Representative Scalise, who is currently in critical condition after he was shot in the left hip, I believe. Here's an image of Scalise right there. Another person, Matt Micah, a Tyson Foods lobbyist, was also shot, he actually seems to have gotten it even worse. Said he was shot multiple times in his chest and arm and suffered massive trauma. He is currently still alive, but he is in critical condition or serious condition at the hospital. A Zach Barth, legislative correspondent working for Representative Roger Williams, who is helping them prepare for the game, was also shot. He has been treated and released from the hospital. Senator Jeff Flake from Arizona, Jeff Flake was there, but I do not believe he was injured. And Williams, they're jumping around the names here, but it was a Williams, something Williams, who is the team's coach and injured his leg and ankle diving for safety. Again, not shot, but he was taken in to be checked out. And Crystal Grinner, the Capitol police officer was shot in the ankle. U.S. Capitol Police Chief Matthew Verdosa said the hospital said today Griner's in good condition. Roger Williams and another Capitol police officer sustained minor injuries. Now, this shooting was carried out by an individual, James Hodgkinson, who carried out was the person who carried out the shooting. He was injured by police at the shooting at the field, and then later, I believe, he has died of his injuries at the hospital. Now, there's already some, as you would imagine, this is, in these current times, this has absolutely kicked up a hornet's nest, and has, again, dominated the news cycle since it happened, with, people already starting to politicize it, already starting to question this and that, and throw around accusations. And, first off of one being, or one of the first ones out, being that the guy, the shooter, was actually at one point a volunteer on Bernie Sanders' presidential campaign. So, of course, you have certain hack journalists trying to say it's like oh well, how does this affect what Sanders is trying to do and the progressive movement and gee lordy, like what kind of uncouth individuals are they bringing into our political system? Like, first off, go fuck yourself. Secondly, it's the same argument. This is one of those things that, like, if a person specifically said, I want you to go and harm someone, then you got a point. But in all other cases, it's an absolute bullshit argument. It's like blaming Sony. It's like Sony or JVC for making, say, a VCR that someone pirated a movie with, which, by the way, they tried to do. It's like that thing where they wanted to go after a gun shop for legally selling a firearm to someone if that person at some point down the road went on a shooting spree. It doesn't make sense. It's a ridiculous comparison. And no matter who the comparison is made towards, like for instance, that asshole in Portland that stabbed the guys, the whack job, who was like white supremacist, this, that, and the other. I mean, again, I don't know with that particular case. Like, I don't know if, they tried to come up with something saying that some of his posts said that he was a Bernie supporter, but he is also a white supremacist and a Nazi, which I don't know how the Nazi ends up supporting the socialist Jew in an election. I don't know. It's an odd thing. Like, they don't really feel like clarifying that, how that works. But supposing that dude was an ardent Trump supporter. Honestly, I'm not going to blame friggin' Trump, as dickhead that he is, for causing this guy to go on his little killing spree. It's the same thing here. There are crazy people out there. There are people who are nuts out there, but you know what? Those crazy people still have likes and dislikes, and politicians they want to vote for and vote against, and singers they like. What if this guy was what if this dude was an Aerosmith fan? Is Steven Tyler responsible for his actions? It's a ridiculous claim to make. Is that stopping some of the mainstream media from making it? Oh, of course not. But it's still ridiculous. Now, another thing too is, of course, this whole incident too, like, it has just stirred up so many weird things, potentially weird things, like as far as what's going to happen going forward, with the Republican Party, with their stances on various things. Personally, I'd like to see how they feel about gun regulation going forward. I'm just saying, it would be massively hypocritical for them to, like, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't allow people to just. Maybe we should keep people with a history of mental illness from purchasing firearms. Maybe we should regulate that. I'm like, hey, I'm all for it, but you're still a fucking hypocrite because last year you're all against it. So there's that. I'm interested to see what happens as far as that goes moving forward, and just things in general. I mean, for one thing, I'm pretty sure you can bet. Like, I wonder how many Republicans are actually going to hold town halls after this. This is one of those things why I'm against the idea of violence in so many situations, especially this. Like, there's no. I mean, this is not gonna, like. What did the shooter hope to accomplish? Was he gonna stop something, prevent something from happening? Get rid of the Republicans or something? Like, it's not gonna. Nothing. Violence is not gonna answer any of the potential problems in our current political situation. It's not. That doesn't mean that people that people won't potentially resort to violence. I'm just saying it's not gonna fix anything. And I think all it's going to do, the effect it's actually going to have is, again, one thing. I think a lot of people on the right are going to use this as justification for not facing their constituents. For just staying at home and saying, oh, no, due to safety reasons, because of the shooter coming after Republicans now, we're not going to hold town halls. We're just going to do it over the phone with people who can verify their identity and that they voted for us. It's just like, and that's not going to help anything. It's not going to help anything get done. Now, on the other side, as far as the politicians, this is a kind of leads into a subject that's a little more abstract. A little more, I'd say abstract. It's not like a direct cause thing here, but it's something that I feel should be considered, or should be something they should take under advisement, or something they should think about. And that is, our political system right now. Like, for one thing, I think a part of this incident, or the cause of it, could be explained with, basically, you reap what you sow. We have a political system, or we have a government, or an establishment, or a government, that, especially on the right, has, for the last couple decades, has basically campaigned on fear. If Democrats get elected, they're going to take your guns. The UN's going to own the country. The gays are going to overrun you and I don't know, make you have gay sex or something. I don't know what their argument on that one is. They're going to remove Jesus from schools and the whole country's going to go to hell, and they're going to tax you like crazy, and they're going to regulate you until you can't go outside without having to comply with the regulation, and they're going to kill businesses and jobs with their taxes, and and they're going to be weak on terror, and we have to take the fight to them. All this constant fear. Vote for us, because if you don't, something bad will happen. And now we see on the right, like when they put through the Affordable Care Act, and like the Tea Party and these waves of these people like friggin', burning little effigies of, lynched Obamas and everything. And this absolute horrific, like really nasty backlash from a lot of the supporters on the right for things like Obamacare and for calling it communism and all this stuff, and the freaking socialism is going to wreck our country, and all this like rhetoric that is no way based on fact and is no way based on substance or policies or problems with actual documented clear problems with policies. It's on fear. And and I personally have seen that start to happen on the left as well with Russia. Now it's like, oh, the Republicans are bad and Trump is bad because of Russia and his ties with Russia, and Trump's a fascist, and if you let Trump, if Trump wins, then vote for Hillary, because if Trump wins, the xenophobes and the racists and the anti-gay hate crimes are going to explode, and we're going to have white terrorism all over the place, and the KKK is going to be marching down the street with wearing their like friggin' Make America Great Again hats perched on top of their little hoods. And they're doing the same thing that worked for the Republicans, is a way that they can scare an electorate into voting for them without actually giving them real reasons to vote for them. Real policy, real changes, positive changes that they're going to do as their elected representative to encourage a vote for them. And this is the result. Stuff like this is going to keep happening. I feel like you get everyone worked up into a frenzy of fear. And yeah, maybe it might drive some of them to vote one way or another out of that fear. Maybe it's not going to work and they're just going to stay home because, whatever. After a certain amount of time, you just get kind of sick and tired of it. And it kind of loses its effect. But there's a good chance there's a lot, number of people out there who, thanks to our healthcare system and the cost of getting getting mental health treatment in this country, are unstable. And you start driving all this fear, this rhetoric of fear and worry and terror, and trying to scare votes out of people, and they're going to end up going off the deep end. Case in point. And it's a problem that needs to be addressed by, one thing, not using these ridiculous fear-driven tactics anymore on either side. I personally really miss that. The idea of having a presidential debate or some kind of a political debate where they actually talk about fucking policies and why it's a good thing or why it's a bad thing or things like that, as opposed to, oh, well, my opponent's a racist, and if you vote for him, the KKK will be in charge, or some bullshit like that. That again, it does nothing. You get that small group of people that buy it hook, line, and sinker, and then in cases like this where things don't work out in their favor, oh my God, the world is falling apart. So, well, I think I've droned on enough about this particular subject. I actually have more on this, but I'll put that in other videos. So links will be in the description below. I think there's going to be some interesting developments coming out of this. We'll see how it goes. Like, comment, subscribe, particularly comment, and I'll see you next time.